Because of that mishap, we're only going to be in the top 12 this month. Aw. Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Average Ontario Anglers Fishing Podcast. We have an awesome show today because I, Andrew, your host, have the pleasure and enjoyment of talking with not only my good friend Jesse and co-host, but also we have two special guests this episode. That's right, it's two for the price of one, which is free because it's a podcast. Jesse and I will be talking about some of the lures we're really excited to use in this coming year. Open water season is just around the corner. I know we're all getting super pumped to go for that. But we also are going to be talking later on with Carruthers, the person who organizes and runs the CanCast fishing show, which we're all excited about. And also we're going to be talking to one of the vendors who's been there every year since they started. But first off, we're going to have an interesting fishing fact. And to handle that is Jesse, the man with the glasses.
Thought that we would do something a little less ice fishing-y and a lot less squirt boaty, like Andrew talked about last time.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. So realistically, a lot of people don't ice fish. Let's be serious. A lot of people do ice fish, but a lot of people don't. And if you're someone that doesn't ice fish, or you're just yearning and waiting so much for open water season or bass fishing, walleye, muskie, carp, whatever you want to fish for on open water, you're probably just kind of over completely listening about ice fishing topics. We understand. That's why we're doing this episode. It's kind of breaking up the boring ice stuff that we normally would talk about in the last few episodes. Although last episode was about steelhead fishing, which is kind of half ice, slightly open water-ish, depending on the day. Thought we could talk about barometric pressure. What do you think about that, Andrew?
Well, I'm not sure if it meets the interesting criteria, but I look forward to hearing about it.
So when it comes to fishing, there's some things that anglers can learn that will definitely help them in their fishing, to help them be more successful. Sometimes you might go out fishing and for some reason you'll just be like, I don't know why the fish were not biting. And the more you can learn about stuff like barometric pressure, it'll really help you have success on these tough days. So first of all, let's understand what barometric pressure is and why anglers should know what it is. In the most basic terms, barometric pressure is the weight of the air pressing down on Earth's surface. So all that air, it's pretty heavy, right, Andrew?
I know sometimes blowing hot air can put a weight on my chest, but
it's true. Andrew with his swelled head. So this actually has a significant role in how it influences a fish's behavior. The fluctuations in atmospheric pressure can affect fish's feeding patterns, their activity levels, and their preferred habitats. So I thought we could talk about the different pressures that oftentimes you would have to deal with when you're out fishing and what it actually means for you. So we think of high pressure. When you think of a high pressure day, what do you think, Andrew? It's clear weather, bright skies kind of thing. Fish behavior, what happens on those days? It's oftentimes the dreaded, what do we call it? Blue sky of death. So fish often become less active and more selective, seeking deeper waters or sheltering under structures. Now, why do they do that? Well, if you've never thought of this, remember what we said, the barometric pressure is the weight of the air pressing down to the Earth's surface. So when there's high pressure, there's a lot of this pressure pushing down. It actually increases pressure that compresses the fish's swim bladders slightly. It's not a lot. It's not like it's high pressure and their eyes are popping out of their head. It's not like that, but it is enough that it does affect them. You may think sometimes when it's high pressure or something like that, you may get a headache. Some people are like, I have a headache. It's a pressure headache, Same thing happens to fish, mostly with their swim bladders. I don't know if they get headaches. We'll have to ask one day, but who knows? It causes, apparently, this is what the scientists say, I don't know, but it says it causes discomfort and reduces the mobility of fish. Now, we've noticed this. That is very true. Oftentimes, say we'll go muskie fishing or bass fishing, and you'll have one of those days when it's flat calm, not a cloud in the sky, bright sun, and those fish become hard to catch. And even just a slight breeze that comes through, all of a sudden the fish turn on. It's like when it's those high pressure, bright bluebird sky days, it becomes very hard to catch fish. And it's frustrating because sometimes if you're like us, you only get to fish when you have time to fish. It's not like, it's bluebird skies, I'm not going to fish today. I have that one Saturday off, and that is the day that I'm going to go fishing. One of the best things to do is finesse techniques. You see Andrew's ears perk up. He's like, say what? Finesse techniques? So you have to remember, these fish become less active. One of the worst things you could do is chuck a bait that requires you to reel super fast that the fish has to chase after it, because these fish, like we mentioned, they're going to be less active. They're going to be hiding. You have to think they're going to kind of slide under the weeds. You don't want to chuck something that's like a search bait, so to say. So one of your best techiques would be, unfortunately in Andrew's favor, would be finesse techniques. Now, some of our favorite finesse techniques is what, Andrew?
We like soft plastics, like soft weightless plastics, stuff like that. Even like small frogs and stuff and things over the top of the weeds, over top of those cover areas, like finesse topwaters are fun, or really small buggy baits.
Yes. And then you also think of like ways you can throw those baits, drop shot, Ned rig, and even live bait. We don't talk a lot about using live bait, but when you get those high pressure situations, live bait like a leech, depending on what you're fishing for, minnows or worms can be absolutely deadly when the fish won't touch anything else. Another thing would be falling pressure. So we think of an approaching weather front. So the storm hasn't happened yet. It's coming. You can see it. The clouds are starting to turn a little bit dark. What generally happens just before a storm as regards to fish activity, Andrew? Usually, for me anyway, it's pretty good.
It picks
just
up
before the storm. Yeah. I had the most insane day. I think it was last year or the year before. I pushed out in the sports pal. I was fishing this little lake. I looked at the weather and it was like, yeah, it was supposed to storm or something. But I looked at the weather radar and it looked like it was just going to miss me. So I just went out. I was like, whatever, I'm out fishing this lake. And it got to the point where the clouds just started turning like black. And I was like, oh no, I got to head back. Like my boat doesn't go that fast. I'm trying to head back to shore. But I was like, you know what? There's this one spot. I got to try 1 or 2 casts on the way back. And I literally stopped in this spot. And in that like 10-minute period, I caught like 3 or 4 big bass. But I was like, oh my goodness. And then just before then, it just started pouring rain. And then obviously I had to run for my life. Well, I had to, pull the cord on my little 2.5 horsepower and putt back to shore while I barely beat the rain. I got back to shore, jumped in my car, and it just started pouring rain. And my canoe literally filled with water. But right before that storm, dreams are made of days like that, fishing wise. But falling pressure or approaching weather fronts, it often triggers heightened activities for fish. They become more aggressive and they feed ahead of the incoming weather systems. Now, why is that? Approaching weather front actually is a decrease in pressure. So it makes fish feel less constrained. It prompts feeding. It oftentimes has a feeding frenzy, which sounds more like a piranha thing. But in that situation, when I was bass fishing, I was fishing like a small area and I picked out 3 bass in like literally 10 casts. It was insane. They were just feeding like piranhas, basically. Luckily, they don't have big teeth because I was lipping them. So when fish are aggressive like that, one of the best baits is something that covers water fast, because these fish are aggressive. They're looking for food. They're not going to be finicky and just looking at the bait like, I don't know if I'm going to eat that. The bait that I was personally using was a chatter bait. And that's a bait that is great for covering water and just cast, reel, cover water, and boom. Now, how about this one? Low pressure.
That's the way I like to live my life. Low pressure, dude.
Low pressure, stormy weather. Now, what happens? Fish tend to become a little more sluggish, retreating to deeper areas or seeking refuge into cover. You think if there's like a thunderstorm, super heavy winds, and big dark clouds, the reason that fish are going to hide and stuff like that is there's significantly lower pressure. It expands their swim bladders, leading to discomfort again. What happens to these fish generally is they're going to go undercover or a little bit deeper. So the same areas that you might be catching them the day before or even earlier in the day, like maybe you're frog fishing in 3 feet of water, lily pads for largemouth bass, and this big storm's coming through, you might want to start fishing a little bit deeper water, because those fish may drop down to the deeper water, or the fish in shallow water just shut off and hide deep in the weeds and you won't be able to catch them. And the fish that are in deeper water are less affected by these pressure changes. So those are the fish that you're going to want to target. Yeah. It's something like barometric pressure that I feel like a lot of people that just get into the sport, they don't truly even think about and understand that it will affect the way that you're going to catch fish that day. It's little things like that. I always think like fishing is a learnable skill. I'm not going to say you're going to learn to be like a legit Bassmaster guy, but you can learn to be good at fishing, and you can learn stuff like this that will separate you from other guys.
I found that very interesting. So thank you, Jesse.
You're welcome.
And if people didn't follow that, if you didn't understand what Jesse was saying, at least you know enough now to make excuses about barometric pressure being why you didn't catch fish.
Yes. You're like, dang, high pressure. It's like, no, it's low pressure today. Yeah, that's what I meant.
You know what I was thinking? You're talking about like high pressure, how like maybe it gives fish like migraines or headaches and whatnot, like pressure headaches.
Yeah.
What if, picture this, it's the latest thing for 2025 fishing. What if you inject Tylenol into your Ned rig? You just glue a Tylenol like tablet right into the backside of it and just like flip it out. Fish are like, oh, relief.
If the fish knew what Tylenol was, that probably would work.
Or some people, how they think it's, good luck to sprinkle tobacco on the water or something like that. You're just like crushing up like Advil tablets and like sprinkling them into the water where you're fishing.
It's like acetaminophen, just sprinkle it in the water. And they thought I was the crazy one.
That's good. I like that. That was a good one. And again, the interesting fishing fact is a segment we do every week. I often do the ones that are just kind of weird, wild, and hopefully fun. And Jesse's all about actually helping you guys better yourselves. Thank you, Jesse, for keeping us grounded.
Andrew does his interesting fishing fact. The next week, I have to repair the damage that has been done.
Well, speaking of doing damage, Jesse and I, we're going to be talking about...
That's a good transition.
Yeah, right? But you ruined it. I was halfway through.
Oh, sorry.
Speaking of doing damage, Jesse and I are going to be talking about some of the things we're going to be doing some sick damage with this year on the water. And I don't mean putting holes in my tinner anymore. I'm talking about catching some, I was going to say bass, but fish of all species. And we're going to be talking about some of our lures that we're most, or lures, techniques, baits that we're most excited to fish this coming year. I got to preface this whole kind of discussion with, we're not saying these will be our top producers. We're saying we want to try this and we'll let you know at the end of the year how we did.
Yeah, because if we did that, it would just be like last year's episode when we're just like, well, chatterbait. Yeah, it's number one for both.
What's your number one producers? Stick baits and chatterbaits.
Yeah, these are new things. These are things that maybe we've had and we haven't used a lot, or maybe it's new stuff that we've got and we're excited to try. I'm trying really hard to just buy stuff that I know specifically I'll use.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very hard for a fisherman or an angler in general, because we tend to get sucked in buying all this. Like, look at all this junk behind me. There's tons of stuff. Like trying new stuff, but I'm really trying to dial it in. So these stuff that me and Andrew had, it's stuff that I know we probably will catch fish on if we try it.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jesse and I, we've both picked like a handful of baits. I know Jesse probably got hooked less than I did when I picked all of mine up in one massive handful, but yeah. I'm going to have Jesse pull out the first one and he's going to talk about what he's excited to use first. Now, it doesn't have to be by season, doesn't have to be anything. Just pick out one and then, I don't know, save your favorite one for last.
Okay. So I thought maybe I'd start seasonally, because this is probably one of the first lures that I'm going to use this year. This is not a new lure. This is one of my favorite dual realis jerk baits. This is the 120 SP, so it's 120 millimeters long. It's a normal size jerk bait. It's a little tiny bit bigger. Usually they're 110s. This is a 120. This is a Fire Tiger.
Write that down.
Yeah. Fire Tiger, super bright jerk bait. I caught my PB pike on this last year. I've caught other fish on it, smallmouth, all that stuff. But the cool thing that I've added to this is inline single hooks. So instead of having treble hooks, I've added inline single hooks. Now, there is a way to decide. I was kind of confused because I did an order at a Zoco, and you can also buy these on Amazon and stuff like that. But if you want to support a local shop, the inline hook, the way that you determine what size you need is you get the treble hook of the lure, and then you can kind of like line it up with a hook that you already own, like say like a worm hook. So these hooks are actually 2/0. So the 2/0 hook is the same size as a number 6 treble hook.
And you're talking about the gap between the point and the shank, right?
Exactly. So there are charts online. Some of them are slightly confusing, but make sure you figure it out. Don't just guess, because you don't want to buy hooks that are way too big or way too small. But this particular jerkbait has 3 hooks. I love it for pike fishing. The problem with pike fishing is what, Andrew, when they eat a lure, it's usually down.
Or you're trying to handle it and there's 3 treble hooks flipping around and a little hammer handle slipping out of your hands.
Yeah. And these particular ones, I like, especially early in the season. Pike tend to nip. They're not just like fully inhaling. Like the last few pike I caught last year in early spring, both of them were hooked so lightly. It's not as big of a deal, but when you are pike fishing, especially like from like, I'd say May on, they just inhale the whole bait. And then you have literally 9 hooks in their mouth, like 3 sets of trebles. And getting those out, it's for catch and release fishing, if that's what you're doing, it's not good. But even if you are keeping the fish, it's a nightmare to get those hooks out. And then, like Andrew said, you risk getting them in your hand. They're in the net. Everything about it is bad. Absolutely bad. So I'm going to try these single hooks. I've tried them on other lures like spoons and spinners with good success. So I'm excited. These hooks are actually very sharp. You can actually pinch down the barb too. But I've just like, if you grab that and just pull, those hooks just stick right in your hand immediately. Like, don't do that like too hard. But
demonstrate again,
I have
please.
full
pull harder.
Oh yeah. But I have full confidence that if a pike inhales that, he's going to get hooked. And single hooks, when you hook them, they get hooked good. So that is one bait. It's not necessarily a new bait, but it's a new style of hook that I'm going to be trying this year. And I'm excited for pike fishing. I don't know if I would use this for smallmouth fishing. If I was fishing like a smaller jerk bait, maybe we'll have to try it out. But for pike especially, I'm excited to try that. And you can buy a pack of hooks with a whole bunch of hooks, like 10 pack for like $5, $6, something like that. They're VMC hooks. They're sharp. These are like saltwater quality. They're strong. They're not going to bend out. They're not literally bass hooks. They're saltwater hooks. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to try that. We've had pike, like we've been fishing like big X-Wraps and stuff. And we saw the pike just come up and just inhale the whole thing. And that bait was down like in its throat, basically. With a treble hook, getting that out, not the best.
I wish we had video, or people could like be with us when we go fishing, and all of a sudden they see Jesse. And for the average person, when they're reeling in a fish and they're like, oh yeah, pike, it's by the boat, and you're all excited. When Jesse's reeling in a pike, and let's say it's 24, 26 inches long, nothing fancy about it, but it's a nice fish, and he looks and the whole bait's gone, he's like, it swallowed it, dang. Like he starts getting upset, and it's not even in the boat yet.
Yeah, because I know what's to come. Everything's gonna get slimy. There's gonna be blood. My blood mostly. But anyway, that was my first bait. So what about you, Andrew? What's your first bait there?
So I'm excited for, now I still have this in package, but this is a Mepps Aglia. Mepps spinners, inline spinners are classic, right? They've been around for age. Everyone and their grandpa has a dozen of these things probably. I've often fished the Aglia long, which is a long whittle leaf blade. I really like that one, but I wanted to get a bigger one for, like bass and pike. So I just got a Mepps number 5 Aglia. It's got like the copper blade with the red dots on it. Very classic. I wanted something, I like using older baits, but these are ones that are brand new, but still look like they did way back when. I mean, it's been a long time since I tied on a spinner and like started tossing a spinner around. So I'm excited to see, kind of regrow my love for fishing inline spinners again. The downside is going to be, line twist, but I'm going to be working hard, making sure I always have a nice ball bearing swivel in front. But I'm excited to hopefully regrow my love for inline spinners.
I just want to add to that because I'm building a pike box right now. You can hear that. Mm-hmm. So I got just a 3700
some Williams
tray.
wobblers in there.
Yep. It's a whole bunch of jerk baits. I've got some chatter baits, some bucktail spinners, Len Thompson's, Mepps Cyclops, a bunch of spinners too. But one spinner, I was at sale the other day and I showed Andrew this and he was like, what? But I found this Williams. Yeah. I don't know what it's called. I think it's called the Vortex. So from my understanding, and I could be wrong, if you know more information, let me know. But Mepps and Williams always used to be like sister companies or something like that. But now they're not. So now Williams, who used to make mostly spoons, like the Williams Wobbler, one of Andrew's favorite spoons, now they have a whole line of spinners.
What do you mean one of? It is my favorite spoon.
Yeah. I was at sale and I saw these and I was like, wow. And I said to the guy that worked there, Rob, and I was like, are these new? And he's like, yeah, they just came out. So I picked one up and I picked up the classic like Mepps Black Fury color. Mm-hmm. So it's basically like they just made the same thing, but it's got a very heavy brass body. Mm-hmm. This is the number 5.
It's just like the body on the Aglia, right? Like the 4 balls, like well welded together.
It's just like a cylinder. Yeah, it's cool. A cylinder with like lines cut in it. It's very simple. It looks like a great quality spinner blade. The front is black with red or like orange dots, but the back is silver. So I like that. I don't like the full painted blade. I like to have a little bit of flash too. But It just looks like a great spinner. And again, me and Andrew were talking, like we want to get back to basics this year. And when we go fishing on some lakes for pike and stuff, we just want to chuck like spinners and spoons. Like I know that's what a lot of people do, but we get kind of like, we like to overcomplicate it. We're chucking like, line through swim baits and like these expensive jerk baits. It's cool. It's cool. But we get back to our roots of when me and Andrew used to have like 6 lures and all of them were Mepps Aglias. Back when we used to fish at your cottage, my confidence bait was a Mepps Aglia Long 4, the gold one with the red sticker, but I used to peel the red sticker off. And then I tied some black marabou, remember, onto the hook. And for whatever reason, probably just because that's what I was throwing every day, I slammed everything on that, bass, pike, everything, right? So we're excited to get back into that. And I know they're popular, especially up north. Like that's like a staple. But I think a lot of anglers that get like really into fishing, they kind of forget that these basic lures that have been around for literally hundreds of years that they still flat out catch.
Yeah, I agree. What's your next one, Jesse, you want to talk about?
All right,
after
this is
half hijacked mine. I'm just kidding.
Sorry, pal.
It's all right.
Last year, if you follow us on Instagram, you probably noticed we did a lot of muskie fishing. And I said to Andrew the year before, at the end of the year, I'm like, let's do a muskie year. We always say that every year as the year starts, we say, what are we going to do this year? And that just means, what are we going to focus on? Like, we're not like some guys that live by a lake and we can't fish like a few days a week. Like, we're fishing a few times a month at the most. We both work full time. We don't have a lot of time on the weekends, unfortunately. But last year we said, let's do a muskie year. And we went out muskie fishing a lot. We caught a lot of fish. We did have the opportunity to fish with a bunch of people that were hammer muskie people. So I literally, when Andrew said pick some lures, most of the lures I picked were muskie lures, but I tried to dial it back. So I only picked one. And this is one lure. It's nothing new. It's nothing crazy. It is new, but it's not a new idea. But I'm excited to use this because I know for the way that I fish, it's going to work. This is the Savage Gear.
Ooh, you bought one of those? What a sucker.
Because it is a sucker.
That thing does look sick though.
Yeah, so this is the Savage Gear Crosstail Sucker. This is the smaller size. This is the 9-inch. They also have an 11-inch size. I'm a big fan of Savage Gear. Like, everything they make, it's killer, man.
I'm really impressed with their lineup. I would love to see like a whole Savage Gear like booth. Just like all their products, like I want to shop at this.
Yeah, because they have a lot of stuff that you look at it and you're like, wow, that's amazing, but it's like only available in Europe. And you're like,
Yeah, I would love to have a lot of their stuff like, over here in Canada. Let's petition all of our listeners. We want you to write a letter to P.O. Box number 322. Petitioning Savage Gear to release their entire lineup here in Canada.
Every time they post on Instagram, I always just say, this would be cool in Canada. And then they like the comment and that's it. I've never heard back from them. But
AI liked that photo or liked that comment. It was not a person.
So anyway, long story short, this is the Savage Gear Crosstail Sucker. If you're listening to this, it's basically like a bulldog. Like, it's a pull pause bait. It's got a really long, one single big long curly tail with a rattle in it. But then on top of that, it also has two slightly smaller tails coming off the back. So the back looks like a T. So it's like one long tail down and then one small tail off the side.
Looks like a trident, like your king, Poseidon, king of the water.
And then on top, it has a fin, just like a sucker, and it has a little wedge in it. So when it swims, it actually twitches around. So there's lots of like micro vibrations coming off this. I feel like fish see and feel, especially muskie, they've been around so long in the water, they kind of get used to things, I think. So this is just something slightly different. The thing I like about this is not only does it look realistic, which I don't think really matters as much. It does come in a lot of colors. Like, realistically, you look at this, it looks like a sucker from here up, but the back looks just like, what the heck? But muskie don't care. Muskie lures are crazy looking, right? So it has a lot of action. It's got a good weight to it. It's got a good profile. It looks like a good snack. It also comes with a weight system. So you can adjust the weight to get it deeper, to make it, fish differently if it's going to go down or just glide more. So it's a cool bait. And the thing is with these, they're reasonably priced. I think they're like $30. So I'm excited to try that. I got black with the orange tails, which is, that's classic, right? But
it looks good. What I want to say about that is I find sometimes, especially in the bigger baits, like when it comes to muskie, they don't always pay attention to detail, which again, I don't think is going to, make or break catching a muskie. But one thing I often see is it kind of looks like some of the appendages are often just an afterthought. It's like, oh, what do we put in the back of this thing? How about a twister tail? Like, okay. Everything on that bait looks, again, this is not sponsored or anything like that, but I am impressed with everything looks engineered. Every little arm, it's like, oh, they put an extra ridge in here. Like you said, like on the dorsal fin, there's an extra bump on it to make sure it has, vibration. There's a rattle in the big twister tail. There's little bumps in the back, two side ones. Like everything about it is,
it's well thought out.
Yeah, we put this here and it's going to do this. Like, we put it here for a reason. I'm like, I like that. It looks good. Hopefully it produces as well.
That was something I picked this up at Gagnon, and I saw it and I was like, oh man, I got to get me one of those. And again, like I said, us fishermen, we just buy a bunch of random stuff. Hopefully we use it. Now watch, I'm going to carefully put this back on my shelf so I don't hook myself.
The next thing I want to talk about is, like we talked about, again, spring pike. What's one of the baits we love to fish? Jesse already showed his one with the inline hooks. Jerk baits. Super versatile. I love fishing jerk baits. One thing that I like to look for, though, is, again, as Andrew, I like to find weird things, different things. Does it catch more fish? I don't know, but I like using things that I've never used before. So one thing I hadn't seen, and it looks like, again, it's a jerk bait. Yes, not a new premise, but an interesting design is... It's the lazy fast shad, which is from More Than Tackle or with Daiwa. If you haven't had a chance to check out some of the baits that like Daiwa has partnered up with, they are legit. And the hooks on them, so far every bait that I've gotten, the hooks are like insanely sharp. I don't have to replace them. They're excellent hooks right out of the package. These are like
the
from
hooks
Japan.
You buy to replace hooks.
Yeah, these are legit. So this one, it's a lazy fast shad. It's a floating bait. It's a floating jerk bait that's still like subsurface. And it's got no bill. It has a small vertical not lip, like a vertical like wedge that just sticks out of the front. And this thing is designed to just look like a dying fish, like more than a regular jerkbait. Yes, it has erratic action. This thing like rolls. If you do a steady retrieve, like there's not much action to a steady retrieve. It kind of like just kind of sashays a little bit side to side, kind of like a glide bait, but not wide at all. But the action is this thing just, you twitch it and it just dives and curls around and floats up sideways. This thing just looks super fishy. Like a predator is going to single this out as, yes, that is my easy meal. So I'm excited to try this one. I'm kind of the guy where I go into the store, I see a new bait, I'm like, let me watch a YouTube video on that while I'm in the store.
Yeah. Quickly.
Yeah. So I looked it up. I sent it to Jesse right away. Like, I'm buying this.
Honestly, it's a bait. It doesn't look like much, but when you watch the action in the water, it's very impressive.
And again, I got it in the skeleton chartreuse black, which is basically like clear, but it's got iridescence inside, like really nice flash inside the clear sides with just a chartreuse line on the top and a bit of orange on the bottom, black eyes, but high visibility. Again, in the spring, I like, and for pike especially, I like bright white colors. That or fire tiger, again, bright colors. But you'll be able to see this thing because, again, it's not very deep under the water. And I love kind of sight fishing, seeing that pike up and smash stuff. So
and hail it. You got to get yourself the single hooks on that.
Yeah, it's only got 2 trebles, not 3. So it's another jerk bait that doesn't have like 3 trebles to deal with. So it's much more manageable. And I like it too because it's got a much thicker profile than like your standard long jerk baits. It's not quite as long as a 110. I'd say it's only like 90 millimeters or so long, but yeah, a little bit thicker.
It looks super good. Like that's a lure that I know you'll catch fish on, right? And it's cool to try new stuff, right? Like, you could probably catch the same fish on a Mepps Aglia, but it is nice to try something else. What's my next one? Oh, my next one is something that I did try last year unsuccessfully, but it was a terrible day of fishing. You ever have one of those days and you go out and it's just like high pressure, the barometric? Yeah, just kidding. The barometric pressure was terrible.
You got to, one of those days you got to pop a couple Tylenol before you go out.
Yeah, 100%.
One for me, one for the fish.
It was one of those days where it was just like not a cloud in the sky, super, bluebird, hot as heck. And I was fishing a river that was just stagnant. It was gross. Like it was just like where the cottage was that we were at that year. And it wasn't good. I actually had to drive to other lakes. Like we rented this cottage on this river. And I was like, oh, it looks good from the pictures I saw. And then when we got there, it was just like stagnant, just like dead water. So I actually had to drive to other lakes. But I ended up going up the river and I'm like, maybe it'll clear up. And I was checking this bait around that I'm going to show you. But I'm excited to try it this year. So a lot of you guys know we really like lures from Mike and Mary at Waterwolf Lures, made in Canada. That's another thing. Awesome muskie and pike lures, big bass lures, stuff like that. But you may not know that he also owns a brand called Bass Magnet, which you may think they are bass lures. And this is one one bait that he makes that it really caught my eye. As soon as he showed me that he got this mold, I was like, I need those like right away. So I got a bunch of them. So these are actually his 8-inch Bubba Grub. Now he has some pretty cool colors. This particular color, I don't know what the heck this is. It's called Dave's Mustard. It's like literally, it looks like Dijon mustard with like pepper and lettuce flakes.
It looks like baby spit up, which for a fish looks delicious.
Yeah. So this is the sound of it, me opening the pack, but oh yeah. Anyway, to describe this bait, it's called a Bubba Grub. Like imagine getting a fat grub, like a 5-inch grub you put on a ball head jig, but
calling
now
it Bubba, and then it swells its head because of that. It's like, yeah.
Now imagine the body, instead of being like 1.5 inches long, the body is like 5 inches long. So it's literally like
it looks like a hot dog with like a flatworm coming out of the end.
Yeah. So it's basically like a very fat stick bait or Senko style bait, but on the back it has a fairly large curly tail. So the way that I was fishing it is it's a heavy bait. Like it's a big chunky bait. This particular one I have is one of my favorite plastic colors ever. It's green pumpkin with a chartreuse tail. I love it. Love the contrast. But I had a 5/0 EWG hook and I just had like 1/8 of an ounce tungsten worm weight. And I was literally like swimming it like a swimming worm, right? Just like swimming it through. And then you got to a nice juicy hole near the weeds or a stick and just let it swim down to the bottom. And then it would just sit there and then hop it around a few times and then start swimming it again. That is a bait that I've done very well with swimming worms. But most swimming worms you get, they're kind of thin, like a speed worm style bait. They're very thin and the tail in the back is small. This isn't a swimming worm. It doesn't have the same cut tail, but it has a curly tail. But these, just the extra big thickness of it, I have a sneaking suspicion that if we go flip these around some of those logs at that lake we go to, Andrew, this is going to catch a big fatty. And he has all kinds of cool colors. Those, the Dave's mustard one. Of course, I got a pack of green pumpkin. And for darker water, darker day, I also got black and blue classic. I mean, you can't go wrong. I got green pumpkin, black and blue, and then I got some crazy mustard color. I had to try it. He's like, oh man, this is good. He's not the best for that, right? Like I'll be like, I'll get my normal colors. And then he's like, oh, well, you got to try this color. And then he'll tell me some story about how his buddy Dave, apparently Dave's mustard, he slammed a bunch on rice. I was like, all right, I got to take that one too. Thanks, Mike. But anyway, that's a cool, it's kind of unique.
Yeah.
I wonder if he makes these in white, because this would actually be a sick pike spinnerbait trailer.
Yeah.
Because it's basically, it's a bubba grub. It's just a big grub that's really long. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to do this to buy these specifically, but you could technically just cut some off of it to match the size of your spinnerbait. So I wouldn't really treat it like a worm. It is a bubba grub. To treat it like a big grub that you can fish like a worm. But that's kind of unique. Like usually you see worms, they're pretty skinny. This is a big fatty. So
My next one is less so about the plastic, but more so about the rig itself. Actually, one we're going to be talking a bit to Kyle and stuff about some of the vendors that are at CanCast. One of the ones going to be there, again, Bass Magnet will be there. Pretty much everything we're talking about, there's a good chance you can find it at the show. And if you can't find it new, you might be able to find it at like the used, the tackle swap and stuff like that. I've got some of these baits from there. Like, I'm going to show you one in a bit. My last one is actually from that area, but I want to show you these. These are from Pro Water Baits. It's his hover hook rig. A hover rig is not like, it's new, but it's not like this year new. But I found it can be hard to find like good hover hook rigs in stores. And I don't know why.
In Canada.
In Canada, it's not a popular technique really yet. So when he made a few samples last year and we tried a little bit, I'm like, I love it. So when he has like the legit ones now, he's got proper forms made for these things. He puts them on this like super sharp, like needlepoint hook. Like they're deadly sharp. They're good hooks. Nice and firm, but still like finesse. You can easily fish this on a spinning rod. And these ones are the 3/0 hook, like straight shank style, 1/8 ounce. And what you do is you rig it. So if you don't know what a hover rig is,
here, let me take a stab at it.
Go for it.
Imagine having a jig head on a plastic bait. The jig head is on the outside of the bait. Now imagine a jig hook without a ball on it, but instead the weight is wrapped around the shank of the hook. You hook the hook through the bait, and the weight and the hook both go inside of the bait. So the bait has the hook and the weight inside of it. So it's like super stealth.
And because there's a bit of weight in front of the eye as well, it's a really well balanced bait. It does what it says. It's a hover rig. So it kind of sinks, it glides down. It doesn't just like pull its head straight down and sink down. This is a really nice like finesse presentation. Again, you're using a bit bigger baits than you might use in your drop shot and stuff like that. But you don't have to go huge either. So you want to fish a small paddle tail. You want to fish, this is a little fluke. You cast these things out. You kind of like twitch your rod as you're reeling in. You can fish this just vertical jig if you wanted. And they have a really nice gliding kind of swinging action whenever you fish it or twitch the rod, let it sink. It doesn't just drop down. It will like spiral down or glide across. And I'm excited to fish this more. And especially using like a variety of different plastics. Again, from Vic from Pro Water Baits, he's got a lot of stuff that you ask him, hey, what of yours can I fish on this is good for it? Absolutely. Anything he points out is going to catch fish. I know personally, I like using some of the Cyberflex kind of baits, just so that I find it a little bit easier to rig onto these things, just because it won't tear the plastic as much because they just stretch like mad. But that's something I'm really excited to use because, again, I like finesse presentations. And instead of having something like drop shots, especially when fishing an area where I'm losing a lot of drop shot weights or losing a lot of Ned rigs getting hung up on the bottom, I can break this out and fish that area, cover a bit more water with a rig that can cast a bit and stuff like that. So I'm excited to focus a bit more on this, kind of be one of my go-to soft plastic rigs for this year.
We're going overtime, Andrew, but that's okay because I only have one thing left. This is the one thing I'm the most excited for. This is my last pick. You ever see like a fishing lure that just comes out or some pro uses it and you're like, that is going to be one of my bread and butter. Like that is legit what I need. And this is something as well that it was available in the States and you couldn't find it in Canada for years. And then finally, I just was at Gagnon's the other day and they got some in. Actually, they posted some pictures on their Instagram. I go in and they're like, oh, they're not on the shelf yet. They're still in the back. And I was like, well, open the door. It's like, let me in. So I went in the back room with some of the employees and I was just like grabbing a bunch of packs. So this is actually from 6 Sense Fishing, which makes a lot of cool stuff. This is the treble head. Now the treble head is a way to fish swim baits. Imagine instead of grabbing a swim bait and getting a jig head and, hooking it as you do, and the jig head's on the outside and you have a single hook. That's normal. That's what everyone does. That's been working forever. But the treble head basically is a line through head. So the head of the swim bait has a screw on it. So you screw your bait into it. So your bait screws into this, just screws on. But there is a line. So you put your line through the hole in the head and then you attach a treble hook. Now, this treble hook I have on here is like super sharp. It's like a little number, I think it's a little number 6. So basically you can have the head of the jig head, the swim bait, which doesn't have a hook going through it. So you have all that extra action. So the bait is like uninhibitedly crazy. And then you have a super small sticky treble hook on the top. And the cool thing is, this is kind of like European style. When you do hook a fish, say you hook a big smallmouth, big angry smallmouth, he grabs that hook and gets hooked and you set the hook, that bait is going to rip out of the fish's mouth and that hook is going to stay in, hopefully hooked 1 or 2 places. And as he's shaking his head, this bait's just going to be flying around, which it sounds scary. That sounds like, whoa, no, I don't want my bait flying around. But you want that to slide up and down the line because that's going to give the fish way less leverage. If that hook is pinned in the fish's mouth and they're shaking their head, it gives them so much leverage to throw the bait. Having a little treble hook, it's a confidence thing for me. If you have a really good quality single hook on your jig head, you're going to hook them a lot of the times. But having that little treble hook, I've been doing line throughs like this, but you had to make them yourself, which is a big pain in the bum. But when I have a little treble hook on, even on like a mag draft or like a bigger swim bait, the hookup ratio is amazing. Like you get a largemouth, just nip at it. That little tiny treble hook, so it hooks them like almost 95% of the time. So I'm excited to try this. It comes in all different sizes. I got a pack of 3/16, also 1/4 ounce, which is generally what we use for a lot of swim baits. This particular swim bait that I have on this size is a Limestone Lures 3.5 inch bait, and it's salt and pepper, which is one of my favorite colors. Just a very fishy color, but that is something that I can throw in a 7-foot medium power spinning rod all day long and catch anything on it. Walleye, smallmouth, pike, anything. Hopefully not pike because it'll bite me off, but yeah.
One of the really cool things I just want to mention about that rig doing a line through with a treble hook, like just said, better hookup ratio by far. But one of the cool things is if you are finding that they're light biting, they're normally getting the back half of the bait. Like you can't obviously hook right in the paddle tail and expect it to work properly. No, but you can just unhook that treble and move it another 1/2 inch further back down the bait. You can position that pretty much any along the main body of that bait and it'll run perfectly fine.
You can hook it wherever you want.
Yeah. So which is nice because when you have a fixed jig head, you can't bring that hook shank further back. You need to have a long shank jig head, which they're incredibly hard to find too. So with this, you have a lot more versatility as where you have your hooks.
Exactly. And another thing to add about the versatility is you can add it to any swim bait.
Yeah.
So right now I have it paired on a 3.5 inch swim bait. Maybe I want to fish a 6 inch swim bait, but only have a 1/4 ounce head and use a smaller hook. I can do that. Because sometimes you'll be like, I want to fish this 5 or 6 inch swim bait. And then to find a jig head with the proper size hook for that bait, the head ends up being super heavy. It's like, oh, it's the size of hook I want. It's a big like 5/0 or 6/0 hook, single hook. But then the head is like, 3/4 ounce. And you're like, well, I'm fishing in 5 feet of water. I only need a 1/4 ounce. So this way you can literally have a small head and just put a bigger hook on and just use heavier line. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like I'm excited. I know we were fishing with a Canadian Cowboy last year and he was using these and he was slamming fish on them. I'm excited to use this. Yeah. Like this is one bait that I know, like coming up walleye season, I'll have that tied on right through to smallmouth season. I'm going to have that tied on. So I'm excited.
And my last thing I wanted to mention, and this is something that I picked up at CanCast last year. I haven't thrown it yet. I'm probably going to get another one because this one's in really, really nice shape. And this is an old one. This is the Smithwick's Devil Horse. This is a double prop top water. These things are classic. They've been around forever. You can still get them brand new in stores. I was actually at Cabela's a little while ago and saw some new ones today on the shelf. But this one is like kind of like a fire tiger color. Got 3 treble hooks and twin props front and back. And these things, little finessey or like not a huge topwater action prop bait. And again, there's lots of other brands that have them, but I have a affinity for these old Smithwick's ones. So I'm hoping to grab maybe 1 or 2 more at CanCast this year at the tackle swap and whatnot, and actually use them and fish an old bait, retire it, hang it on the wall like that up there. So that's something that I'm excited to use this year. That's going to be one of my go-to topwaters is a Smithwick's Devil's Horse. And again, if you have a chance to find one of these older ones, they just look cool.
They do, yeah.
We're going to move on now. We have our first special guest. Well, I guess it's kind of our second, because Jesse's our special guest too. But we're going to move on to Wes. And then stay tuned, because we're also going to be talking right after. We're going to be talking with Kyle all about, we're going to kind of getting a vendor's viewpoint, and then we're getting the show organizer viewpoint. And this is all to build up your hype for CanCast. Because I know, Jesse, how excited are you about CanCast coming up this year?
Actually, I'm always excited for CanCast. That goes without saying. But this year I'm more excited than ever, because Kyle has hinted to me a few times that this CanCast is going to be the biggest CanCast ever. I know he says it every year, but every year it is.
Every year he delivers.
Yeah. This year he said to me a few times, though, that it's going to blow my socks off. So I'm going to have to tape them on or something. I don't know. I'm excited, man. I started saving my pennies and charging up all my battery packs, because we're going to be walking around filming a bunch of crap. And not crap, I mean, we're going to film literally cool fishing stuff. It's going to be awesome. But yeah, I'm super stoked, man.
We'll pick his brain a little bit about that. But first, let's go to Wes. Well, his name is Wes, but we call him Wham.
I call him Wham. If he calls me, my phone, it literally just says Wham.
How are you doing today, Wes?
Good, man. How are you guys?
Doing all right. We're excited to have you on. Those, astute listeners to the podcast may have noticed, man, they just talked all about these baits they're excited to use for this year. And man, they didn't mention a single thing from Wambaits. What's up with that? And that's because we're dedicating an entire section to it.
Yeah, and that's just a special treatment we do to people that sponsor the episodes.
Yes. So we're excited to have you on. We're looking forward to seeing you again in person at CanCast. We're going to be talking to Kyle shortly, kind of more about the show. But what are you bringing to CanCast? What are some of the baits that you have this year that we're excited to use and that everyone else should be excited about too?
Well, as evidenced last year, everybody is excited about these guys, the Wobblins. It's a 5 1/4 inch stick bait. It's got accentuated action because of the arm shape, and a brand new color this year. It's called
what's
Spruce
that?
Juice. That is going to be the top producing color this year. I'm calling it right now.
It looks like you juiced a spruce tree.
Oh, it's pretty astute. But it's like a sandy color. There's some black flake in there, some purple holographic in there. It mimics a whole bunch of stuff. It's a super natural color. You're going to throw that around, St. Lawrence, and that's a goby mimic. It'll look really sweet in the water. Produced really well. Jesse, the lake that I was on last year with my uncle's cottage on it. Super pressured, really hard to fish, and produced really well there.
We did a video about this maybe 2 years ago. They're not like Z-Man or anything, but they do have a lot of durability. They're very stretchy. Actually, this one, as you can see, it has a hook on it. This is one that I used like for 2 or 3 days last year, and it's still fine. I'm probably going to, now it's covered in dust and stuff because it's on my fishing shelf, but I could use that again.
Fine.
Yeah, that's green pumpkin copper, which in my opinion is Wes's best color.
Until you throw spruce juice.
I believe you, Wes. Wes has never led me wrong, except for that one time. But we're not going to talk about
We're not going to talk about that one.
That's Jesse's personal podcast topic.
But just as a heads up, if you have to buy two, I remember last year at CanCast, Wes went through the Wobblins like crazy. And I'm not going to say it was because, we talked with them all the time on the podcast, but maybe we sold 1 or 2 packs. But if you have to have 2 colors, my opinion, get these colors. Green pumpkin copper, classic. And then this color looks like a bit of a crazy color. It is the Hubba Gum color, which is like bright pink. That color on a cloudy day is lights out. It's so good. It looks stupid. I used to be like, pink, that's stupid, but it's popular for a reason. Have to get it.
Yeah, we sold out of Wobblins by noon last year, and I'm bringing more than double what I brought last year, so we should be okay. Hopefully, hey, prove me wrong.
Right? All right, everyone, sold out by 2. Sold out by 2.
At 2:00, that'll be fine.
All right, what else you got?
I've got brand new this year, the Wham Solo. And that is the only worm you're ever going to need. It's a floating blend, but it is sectioned into 5 different sections here, so you can bite that off. It's a 4.5 inch. How does that taste, Jesse?
It actually tastes pretty good. What do you put in that?
You don't want to know.
Secret.
So it's got a little hook slot there at the top. Means you can Texpose that without chewing up the top of the bait. So it'll make your worms last longer. You can cut that down, take a section off. You can Nico rig that, take another section off. You can Ned rig that. And then you can even take another section off, use it as a jig trailer or as a little something to, crappie bait with.
Take another section off. It's a maggot.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you can use it as a little bean too, just like that.
As soon as I saw this bait, the first rig I thought of was Nico rigging.
It's also got rigging dots on the bottom on the belly of it. So you can see exactly where to put a wacky hook for the midway point, as well as a 5/0 EWG hook. So that's where you bury that point.
Nice.
Wham, you really thought of everything with this bait.
I try. Like I said, it's the only worm you're ever going to need. You'll have to put a weight on it if you're going to wacky it, though, unless you like a really, really slow float. Right, Jesse? Like the slow sink. Like Jesse's really patient with that.
No, I'm not. I have the weighted wacky hooks. I can't wait. Even with the regular ones, I'm not waiting for that thing to sink. That'll take forever.
Jesse power shots his wacky rigs.
I do. 50-pound braid minimum.
There you go. Then if you're looking for super finesse, these little guys, that is a 2-inch cash-in craw, and that is in the colorway of root beer, which is super natural. Again, kind of brownie with a reddish tinge on it. If you put that on a finesse jig, you can drop shot that on a super finessey bite there. Really finicky fish will hit that.
I like those actually because I'll put them on like a 3/16 jig head, and like that'll sink right to the bottom. But then it's a nice small finesse one you can just drag across bottom. So like, a lot of people will use like big football jigs, but just a 3/16 head on those little craws, you can just drag them on bottom. They work really good.
And any jig with a 1-aught hook will fit that perfectly. Again, something in the worm category. This is a 6.25 inch fin essential, and that is a finesse worm, but it's fully customizable. You've got hook slot in the egg sac there. You can take that downsize that, take the head section off. You can take that right down in the egg sac and make that a super little, that's like a 3-inch trout worm. And then you can even take that tail off and make it into like a tiny little super finessey presentation. So again,
that's how much Wham likes you. He just sacrificed a whole bait and ripped it up on film just so you guys could see or hear what different things you could do.
That's my commitment. We've got, again, the Wambunctious. These guys here, they're going to be matched up with some of Sheldon's jacked up jigs to match up with those patterns really well. Got these guys. We're going to have a limited number of these guys, either the 5-inch swam dunk, and that is basically just a thick bodied fluke with a skinny little tail. That's a hand pour. There's going to be a number of different patterns that we'll have available. And then going up to the 4.5-inch Wham wads.
Oh, I like that color.
That's the rainbow trout. It's got kind of like a pinky belly. And that's a really nice, it's a compact presentation. Swims really well, soft tail, lots of action on it, and a really deep hook slot on the belly, which means you don't have a whole lot of meat in the back that the hook has to get through to penetrate that fish lip.
As soon as I saw these Wham wads, it's like just like a fat little, I know this year we've just been talking about chubby fat baits, but it's literally just like a chubby, it looks like a sunfish. Like the profile is bluegill, 100%. It's not thin. It's got a fat body with a deep slot. So you can put like a big beast hook in there.
And these ribs too.
Paddle tail on it. Oh my goodness. That thing's going to thump.
Yeah.
I got a pack and I'm really excited to try this out on that lake, the back lake we fish, Andrew, with all the stumps. I want to chuck that right on the shore, and I'll pull in the water and I'm going to pull it right slow through all those branches and stuff. Oh man. I can't wait to set the hook into a branch.
See, Jesse says he's going to reel it slow, but he's using an 8.1 to 1. And he's like turning it on surface.
You're going to slow crawl an 8.1.
It's true. I actually bought a 6.1 to 1 recently, so that's going to be my high speed because I reel twice as fast as Andrew.
There you go.
But that's a very unique bait, and that's something that it is a big swim bait, so to say, compared to a small swim bait. Like the one we were just talking about earlier is just like, a little classic swim bait. This is a bigger profile for sure, but it's not giant.
Right.
It's not something that you have to be intimidated and look at and be like, oh, do I need a special rod to fish this? No.
And you don't.
Throw this on your heavy power rod. You're fine.
It's 1.25 ounce. That's what it weighs in it.
They look really good. I'm excited. Me and Andrew split 2 packs. So I had a pack of black and then this other cool color, which I don't know what this one's called, Wes, but we split them. So hopefully they both work and not one works. So then I'll have to steal Andrew's back from mine. I'm excited to try that.
Yeah, that color is called David.
Sounds like there's a backstory to that, but we don't have time for that today. So we'll talk another time.
It slays giants.
Oh,
that's good.
Okay, that backstory was very quick and satisfying.
I told you. Yeah, nice and easy.
Also, I'd like to add 2 more things that I'm a big fan of when it comes to Wambaits. If you listen to this podcast for any amount of time, that Wham has been a supporter since the beginning, and we've been buying his baits since the beginning because they flat out catch fish. And as a bonus, obviously, they're made in Canada, obviously. So we really like them. But as we were talking earlier in the episode, Wes wasn't here, but we were talking about some of the baits that we're excited to use in the new year. And one of them was that line through swim bait head, that 6 cents treble head. Very excited to try that out. And the cool thing about it is you can chuck whatever swim bait you want on it. So when it comes down to swim baits, probably one of the most common and best sizes in Ontario is the Swimpleton. And I don't want to sound like I'm a broken record here, but green pumpkin, yes, I got a pack of those, and I got some whites.
I've got some motor oil last year too, and it's good too.
Oh yeah. This is the perfect little swim bait. It's got great action. It's got the right profile. It's kind of thinner, just like a regular minnow you'd see swimming. I'm a big fan of white swim baits, especially for smallmouth because they like the bright colors. But the other cool thing is when you're at the Wambaits booth, make sure you drop by and see Jacked Up Jigs because he has these swim bait heads that look absolutely fantastic. It's literally like they designed these to go together. Like, look at that thing. Almost. It's lit like, oh man, he has these little swim bait heads. I bought a bunch from him last year at CanCast. And then I bought a bunch of Swimpletons.
Sheldon's going to have these too, the underspins, brand new underspins.
Why are you showing me that? Why are you showing me that? I'm going to spend more money now, man.
I know you will.
But I mean, in Ontario, if you have a 3.5 inch, 4 inch swim bait on a 1/8 ounce to 1/4 ounce head, you can catch anything, literally anything. You can catch walleye, smallmouth, pike, anything. So make sure you pick up some of those. Again, made in Ontario. And the last one that I have to say, I caught some good fish on last year. I didn't really post a lot about it because even me and Andrew like to, hide some stuff from you people. This is a Jacked Up Jigs swim jig. It's white. That's not a surprise. I like swim jigs. But putting this on the back is something that you might not think because this is the Wamphibian, which is a frog style bait, you would think, right? But like Wes said, versatile, right? You can literally chuck this on an EWG hook and reel it right on the surface and let it like gurgle and flip its little legs on the surface. Or you can chuck it on a swim jig. And the cool thing about putting it on a swim jig, it has a very flat bottom. It has a lot of surface area and lift. So you can literally just shake that like Alabama shake style. Just keep it super high and fish it right above the weeds. It slides through lily pads. It slides through wood. And it has a very unique action. The legs on the back are just like, woo! And the fish absolutely love it.
Wait, what are they like, Jesse?
Woo! Yeah. And honestly, I got really lucky because a pike almost bit this leg off. I was reeling it through. We were fishing this lake and it has mostly bass, but a lot of hammer handles. And I caught a bass and I was like, oh, thank goodness. And then the next cast I was reeling in and I saw this little hammer handle, like literally 14 inches long, like not even worth catching, right? And it swam right up super fast. And I was trying to get my bait out of the water and it grabbed it. And I set the hook because I'm dumb. And I hooked it right on the outside of the lip. I was like, thank goodness, but it almost bit off my leg. So that also just shows you the durability of these baits. This bait has been hooked on this since last year and it's still fine. So
you could also use that on a Carolina rig or a Go Free rig, something like that gives it a really slow fall through the water column and those legs will just kick all the way down. So you could,
I could definitely see that on a free rig. That would be pretty sweet. What is the free rig, you may ask? We're not going to tell you. That's
buzzbait too, is amazing because again, the amount of lift you can just crawl that buzzbait across the top now and still get all that like awesome gurgle. Like it's nice to rig those kind of like a nice flat. Some guys rig a shad on its side or something like that, or a gilly shad or something. But this is perfect for that. You get the kicking legs to add even more splash and attractant on top of a nice wide profile.
I literally think with the Wamphibian, for example, you could do anything with it. So you could Texas rig it, you could flip it, you could punch it, you could reel it on the surface weightless, you could free rig it, you could put it on a chatterbait, you can put it on a swim jig, you can put it on a spinnerbait, you can put it on a buzzbait. Like literally, you could do anything with it. So it's one of those baits. You could buy a few different colors and be good.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a lot of our baits will be that versatile. You can use them in any kind of rig, any kind of situation. A lot of the colors, you can use them in clean water. You can use them in stained water. That's the whole point of it is that you don't have to carry 26,000 different pieces of plastic in your boat, in your kayak, in your bag. I want to be able to appeal to everybody, right?
So what if I want to, Wes? What if
you
I
want
really
to? That's fine. I'm not going to stop you. You can buy 26,000 pieces of Wambaits if you want.
That's awesome. Honestly, we're really excited to see you at CanCast. You're always so happy and nice, and your booth is always set up so nice. So
I try.
Definitely stop by and see Wes at Wambaits. And if you do, make sure you say that you saw him on our podcast because that makes him feel good. And it also makes us feel good when he tells us later. But something else that's going to make you feel so good is we actually have this box. Ooh. You know what's in this box? This is the giveaway from Wes at Wambaits. And I'm going to show you some of the stuff very quickly that we're actually giving away to one very fortunate Patreon member. And Andrew will explain the legalities after. Boring. I'll talk about the baits. So one winner is going to win a very cool Wambaits hat
Mhm.
It's a camouflage with a nice leather patch on it. Wes is wearing the same one. This one looks better because it's brand new, not all sweaty.
Yeah, it's not all sweaty.
Yeah. So one nice hat. You are going to get a pack of the Wham Wads, that big fat-bodied swim bait we were talking about. These are really cool. This particular color, I really want to steal it because it's kind of like almost like a salt and pepper with purple in it. Ooh. And then look at...
If you get that box and it has 2 different colors in it, just know, Jesse
Jesse's
stole
good
one.
at it.
100%. This is a whole bunch of baits.
Man, for our non-visual listeners right now, Jesse's holding like a 2 handful thing packs of
What should we do? Should we do 2 winners, Andrew, or 1?
I think one person with an amazing
one mega winner. You heard that. So we're going to have a bunch of awesome different baits in Wes's new packaging. Whole bunch of the baits we talked about, the Wham solos, some of his mini, smaller Whammunition beaver style baits. We got some of the mini craws, the cash and craws, a whole bunch of Ned baits and some really cool colors. This is a really good, the Wambunctious, great jig trailer in general, but you can put him on a chatterbait. Like, I can't even show all this stuff. A whole bunch of his wobblins. Oh, that one just dropped into my tackle box. Sorry, guys.
Oh, geez, I wonder how that happened.
Yeah, some Swimpletons, all this stuff. I think, wait, let me look at this very quickly.
The reason why I say one winner is because you could give it away to 2 people and be like, all right, I've got a good selection, or you can give it away to 1 person, and they are set up for the year. Or for the next 2 years.
Hopefully the person that wins doesn't come to CanCast, because then they'll be like, I don't need any stuff anymore. I'm good.
You know what? I would be totally happy to talk to them.
I'm not going to count it all, but there's a lot of stuff. So, Andrew, how can this person win this awesome giveaway?
So it's really easy. All you have to do is go to the link down below that Jesse has so lovingly and carefully posted in the show notes and to our Patreon. And you can either join as a free Patreon member and fill out a whole bunch of annoying surveys, or what you do are forms. Or what you do is you can just sign up for Patreon. You're automatically entered for just a small donation every month. Even if you want to do just the 1 month, go for it.
And the way that I was actually talking to Wes, the way that I think that we're going to do with some giveaways going forward is because not every giveaway appeals to people. Like, say, like, people don't want a certain thing. They're like, I don't steelhead fish. I don't want to win the bead package. Go onto our giveaway on Patreon. Look at the giveaway post. It's going to be a post that says, this is the giveaway for this podcast. If you want that giveaway, enter there and comment, I want this, or just say you want this. Some lucky guy or girl is going to win a whole bunch of plastic and a nice hat. So Thanks again, Wes. You're awesome.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
And now back to our regular programming.
Man, well, we're going to go from one awesome guest to another awesome guest. So we talked just now we were just talking to Wes, a vendor who has been at CanCast before, and now we're going to talk to the man, the myth, and the legend who has put this show together for the past, 4 years now you've done this show?
Yeah, this will be our 4th year, and next year will be our 5th anniversary, so some special stuff planned for that one.
That's awesome. So who you're just hearing is Kyle Carruthers. I guess I should introduce our guest before we start talking.
But it helps sometimes. But.
we're still getting used to this whole podcast thing. We don't know what we're doing.
A couple more episodes, you guys will have it figured out. Don't worry.
Because of that mishap, we're only going to be in the top 12 this month. Yeah, we're excited for CanCast coming up. I'm always super excited for the show. I know Jesse is too. We're getting really close now.
Yeah, don't need to remind me. I get a reminder from Jeff Penner at Jeff Jigs every day how many days there are till CanCast, because he likes to kick my anxiety into overdrive. Or I'll get a message from Wham or something. Shout out to both those guys. Man, they are amazing at promoting. Holy, they don't stop. I feel like they promote CanCast more than we do. So them, Jacked Up Jigs, a few others, couldn't do without those guys. But first off, thanks for having me on, guys. I love your guys' content and what you guys do. I always laugh when I see you guys at CanCast, because I think you're probably like the 2 busiest guys there. Like, you're busier than me. It's just like you guys are just like walking through like your little entourage and all that stuff and talking to everybody. And it's really cool to see. And it's really cool to see like what you guys have done with Average Ontario Anglers and the level you guys have got to. So I just want to say congrats on that. It's pretty cool.
I was just saying to Andrew, like, over the last few podcasts, if our listeners have known, we've given away CanCast tickets every single episode, the last 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or the last 2 or 3 episodes anyway. And we're so excited for the show. We always say this. We were just talking about this before we hit record, but springtime, like you said, it's show season, right? That's the time that in our area, anyway, we're not reps like you that are flying all over the country, but like in Toronto area in the GTA, there's like 4 or 5 shows.
Yeah.
And me and Andrew like to go to every single one of them.
Yeah.
And, we like them all. They're all cool. They all have their own thing. But the CanCast show, something very special about that show. And we're going to kind of get into that now. And we talk about it all the time. We post reels about it. We do all this stuff. And if you've never been to the show, it's crazy. Like, we can't even describe it. It's not a normal show that you've gone to before. This is exceptional. I just have to say that. We have a whole bunch of questions that we're going to ask you. So if someone hasn't been to CanCast before, maybe you can whet their appetite of what they can expect. So Andrew has compiled a genius list, right, Andrew?
Oh, absolutely.
Nice.
Highly curated. Spent hours poring over these questions to know exactly which ones Kyle. I fielded every single one of them before Kyle, so all of his answers are very well prepared.
Bring it on. You won't stump me. Don't worry. Nobody can stump me on this subject.
I was going to say, when did this happen?
We literally just gave Kyle a disclaimer before recording. I'm going to throw questions at you. You don't know what they are.
I got a reminder yesterday from Jesse. I'm like, oh crap, yes, I gotta do that. So I'm going a million miles a minute over here. But yeah, no, it's man, it is just to kind of jump ahead of that. Hopefully I don't mess up your routine here, Andrew, that we rehearsed, by the way. But it's a different feel. It's a really big, like, high energy event, social environment. And that's what it is. The retailers, the bait makers, the vendors, all in general, they all bring like certain and special deals to CanCast that they don't bring anywhere else, right? Even the stores, they bring stuff just for CanCast that they're not selling in their store, and vice versa. And I think that's just what makes it special. I think it's the best deals by far. It's known as a retail show. Like, everything is basically for sale in that building. It's amazing the people you run into, and it's just like we call it the biggest party in fishing, because that's what it is. It's like seeing all your amazing fishing friends, and it's kind of the kickoff to the season here. You know, with us being the last show, kind of before some of the dealers do their in-store sales and all that stuff, it's kind of the kickoff to spring. And we always kind of go like that last weekend of March, first weekend of April, just depending where the Saturday and Sunday fall, and Easter and all that stuff. But it's a high energy, just really fun event to be a part of. And that's what we get after the show. We get a lot of messages, and it's always like, that was so much fun. We had a blast. We met tons of people. We talked to tons of people. And it's kind of like a slogan that I want to kind of do a campaign on leading up to the show this year. And I thought of it just like a half hour ago. I was sitting here writing notes for this. And it was like, how do you CanCast? Like, how do you CanCast? And, you know, you get the one guy that walks through there in 3 minutes and he's like, yeah, whatever, I'm out of here. And then you get the other guy that's like, I was there for 8 hours and I didn't have enough time. Yeah, and it's like, how do you make the most of the experience, right? And I always say, like, how do you CanCast? Well, you go in there and you probably get your hot deals that you know you have to get before they sell out, maybe. But then if it was me, I would be going by every single booth slowly, talking to every single vendor. And it is amazing, like, what you will like find out, the knowledge you will get on their product, the deal they will offer you from talking to them that they weren't advertising, the stuff you learn, the fishing spots you hear about, all that kind of stuff. You guys are probably perfect examples. How do you CanCast? You guys do it differently. You do it the best, right?
We're there for about 12 hours in the day when it's only open for 8. And
exactly. And I think that's what people need to understand, that if you go into it with this attitude of, one, there is more square footage of all fishing vendors than any other show. So that's not disrespect to anybody. You know, we're great friends of all the other show promoters. They all run amazing events, but we're just fishing. Right? That is our main thing. We have some boats outside and stuff, but we are just fishing vendors. So when you take all the square footage, it's the biggest one, arguably, in Canada, easily. Definitely in Ontario. It's just all about how do you experience it. And I know some people go, they come early, they get in line right away, because we always have, like, you know, free stuff for people standing in line, which, by the way, even if you show up early and our lineup's huge, it flies through the door now. Like, it is. And we have a better plan for it this year. And lots of people say, man, waiting in line for like that half hour before the doors open and like the music's going and everybody's talking and, you know, talking fit, like that's part of the fun. Like, that's part of the day, right? Like, it's like you're amped up and you go in the building and the countdown's finishing and, like, it's just really good time. So it's one of those things.
I don't know if you have plans again this year. I know last year, Jesse and you asked us to help out, throw some prizes out to the crowd waiting outside. That was
for sure.
That was fun. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen again this year, so I don't want to say absolutely. But I mean, that's the kind of energy you bring. Like, you're a professional at working up a crowd, and especially, you know, like you were saying, it's a special kind of environment, and it is more social than any other like fishing trade show I've been to. And it's one of those things 100%. Where you go like every year, and you're seeing vendors you saw, even if you're just like a regular Joe, like average Joe off the street, just like us, and you walk up and you talk to a vendor, you come back the next year, oftentimes, especially if you have like, you know, a weird looking face like me or Jesse, they'll remember you and be like, hey, you were here last year. You know, and you have a great conversation. You're literally building, you know, relationships with people. Like, I've never felt that kind of vibe at an event like that before. of, you know,
Yeah.
I'm there to buy things, but I'm making new friends.
Yeah. And like we were walking up and down, like again, Kyle was a good guy and let us go in a bit early, but we were walking up through the line there, and just the amount of people that I saw waiting in line before the doors open, people that want to get in for the deals. We were walking up, and every like 10 people, it seems like someone stopped and looked at me and grabbed my arm. Hey, Jesse, how's it going? You see so many people. And when you walk in, you know, after the initial, like the craziness of the, you know, when the doors open, everyone's rushing in. After that settles down a bit, you can't literally walk 10 feet without someone wanting to talk to you.
Yeah.
It's insane. And I mean, it has nothing to do with me and Andrew being just super cute, but like literally everywhere people want to talk to you. And we mentioned this in a reel we just did. We were there at CanCast last year, over 10 hours, Andrew?
Yeah. We were there at least an hour before
we saw everything. I guarantee we saw less than half. Like you will not get bored there. It's a whole day thing for us.
It's really cool. And like, it's only getting bigger every year. And I don't want people to think like, oh, Kyle's the hype machine. Like it seriously is like, I have opened up more space this year. Like it's bigger. We're way ahead of like everything this year. We've been working on it harder than, not that we always work on it hard, but I've been working on this since the show ended last year. Like we didn't stop. We like got stuff into motion. We have some amazing new vendors coming. Like it doesn't matter what you're looking for. Like I can touch on a few of them, but it's just like, it's a whole different level what we're going to do this year. And we're already planning 2026. And because some of the big ideas for 2026, we just don't have time to get them implemented for this year. We're already working with sponsors for next year's event. So I only see this getting bigger. It's definitely not getting smaller. We are selling tickets quicker than we ever have. And we haven't even announced our, 15 days of giveaways where we usually give away $1,000 a day in fishing tackle or prizes leading up to the show. Last year, we gave away $25,000 leading up to the show at retail value. And this year, it's looking to be even probably more than that. It's some unbelievable prizes. And people are just buying tickets. And everyone who buys a ticket, guys that win a ticket on, your guys' show, you're all entered in those early bird prizes, which is wicked. So it's pretty cool. But no, we're really excited for this year. But the biggest thing, and not take away your questions, Andrew, but what do we change? Right? I think that's probably going to be a big one.
That was his next question.
I just want to cut in here. Again, Kyle's a pro because I'm looking through the questions. I'm like, well, we answered one about what makes it a good community. We answered number 2 about, are there any special discounts to the show?
We didn't quite answer all that. There's lots of deals to talk about.
You got to leave people wanting more, though. We're talking. This is all about building people's excitement because Jesse and I are excited, and we wanted to share this. Wanted to have you on to kind of showcase not like all the specifics, but like the vibe of what people are going to expect at the show. And
for sure.
And to have like you're a generous guy, Kyle, because people buy a ticket and you're like, hey, I'm going to put you in a free draw. To win legit prizes. Like, oh, you're at the front of the door, like, hey, that's awesome. See some kids, here's some, Sankos, here's some, awesome stuff. So that's a fun, really cool like atmosphere. Just on the topic of stuff that's at the show, like we kind of touched on some products and stuff like that. Do you have any cool seminars or anything lined up? Things to perhaps gain some more like knowledge?
We do.
Large scale.
So we got some cool ones this year. So obviously Bob Azumi's coming back because Bob Azumi's seminar is always packed and everybody wants to listen to Bob. And he hasn't quite given me the topic that he's going to cover yet, but it's going to be awesome. Like it's Bob.
Whatever. It
right?
doesn't matter.
And that's where it's like, yeah, Bob, whatever. So Bob's coming back for one for sure. Another cool one that we're doing this year is Nick Kousfis again, presented by Radio World. He did one on using fishing electronics last year. And I keep getting messages like, hey, is Nick doing that again? Is Nick doing that one again? And we've had such a demand for it. He's going to do something focusing on how to use your fishing electronics because it's like literally something that people were like, that was unbelievable. Like we learned more about how to use our Garmin in a half hour than we, forever. So that one's coming back. We also got the muskie panel back, which Mike from Handlebars, Frank from Thirsty Lures, a few other guys are going to do something on muskie fishing. And then this one's kind of cool. We have an all female panel and we got some amazing names on it that are basically going to talk about, how they got into fishing as, a female angler and what was it like? It's probably intimidating for a girl to get into fishing and kind of maybe a male dominated sport, how they get into it, like what clubs they go through, what avenues, Ontario women anglers and all that stuff that they have going on. They're going to be kind of talk about that. So we're really excited for that one. It's going to be really cool. And then I haven't quite confirmed it, but I don't think I'm going to give him a choice. But Bassmaster Elite Angler of the Year, Chris Johnson, is on the table for a seminar, which I think that one would be pretty cool because he is local to Peterborough, right? Mm-hmm. So he can't really say no to me.
I mean, yeah, he kind of has to.
He kind of has to do it.
But you also have to make him give up the juice for the local lakes. He's got all those hot spots pinned. Like he's I don't need coordinates, but give me some pointers on specific
Oh
lakes
yeah,
here.
for sure. So it's the seminars are really good. Like Bob's is amazing. Nick's is going to be amazing. They're all going to be amazing guys. And the reason why we try to change it up, but Nick and Bob are every year because they just pack the room. They're two of the best speakers. So I'm really looking forward to it. The Muskie guys are going to be awesome, and the ladies are going to be awesome. And Chris, well, he doesn't really know anything, but he'll figure it out.
Another one I got a bunch of questions here, so I'm going to choose some of the better ones I really want answered personally.
Okay.
Where was it? Awkward.
My question is, why doesn't Andrew know the questions?
Yeah. Just go for number 3, just like we rehearsed, buddy.
I have
just like we rehearsed. Yep. we did not rehearse, just so you know.
So everyone, give us some tips on what is going to be new this year to the show, because every year we talk about how it's getting bigger, it's getting better. Every year that's been true. We've
for sure
got in the door quicker. That was a big one.
That was a big one.
Expanded
so
buildings and stuff. So there's always more and more and more. So I want to know what is new for 2024.
Let me take you through the show. We're going to do a new entrance. Last year we ran 2 entrances. There's 2 lines. We're going to do entrance on the outside, going into the outdoor area, like the boatyard. We're going to have like 6 ticket scanners set up, and you're just going to fly through and you can go left or right, any way you want. It's going to be way better, way quicker, way better line control. I don't want people getting scared off when we say line up. It's busy. If you come at 9:10, you're going to walk right in the door. There's no problem. If you come at noon, you're going to park at the front gate. No problem. I don't want people panicking about that. Some people are like, I'm not coming. There was a line. Like that's nuts. That's totally chaotic attitude for not coming. So basically the boatyard, as we call it, the outside area is going to be way bigger. So we had it all fenced last year. We're opening that up. There's way more boats coming, everything from the best bass boats to your tin boat, whatever. We got one vendor, River Sports Recreation, that's going to bring a deal on like cash and carry outboards. So like 9.9s, 15s, 4 horses. Like he wants you crazy deal, brand new, pick them up on your shoulder and walk out of the show. Like that kind of deal. He's got a bunch of Yamaha kicker motors for all you trolling guys, salmon guys that he's going to be bringing. Like that's going to be a really cool deal. We'll advertise that leading up to the show. It's a CanCast exclusive, but like really big deals on that stuff.
Or as I call it, my main motor.
Your main motor. There you go. So that's going to be cool. And then basically the whole ice pad is going to be full again, as well as the swap. We're going to move the tackle swap out of the one building. It's going to go over to the arena, and it's basically going to take up all the big main lobbies out there, which I don't want anyone to think is like getting pushed to the side. It's just so much space in those big main lobbies that we just never used before. So it's going to go in there. We're going to make the show bigger. And the swap was always like 45, 50 tables. It's up to like 87 right now. And I don't think I could fit anymore. So the swap's basically doubling in size. So way more used tackle for you guys, new stuff, whatever the guys have in the swap. That's going to be a huge draw. Which that then has allowed us to do is open up 40 more booths for vendors in the back building. So now we've been able to get all these other brands in there, way more stuff to see. And we're really looking forward to that. And it's some really cool companies. Like a lot of you guys that are in the kayak fishing, we have like every kayak company coming imaginable for kayaks to accessories. We got all the big bass boat brands. We have electronics brands. We got Radio World coming this year. Radio World's gonna have a really cool setup. They're actually doing outside a great big trailer that you can walk through, get all your fishing electronics and knowledge and all that stuff and walk out the other side. It's gonna be really cool. So that's gonna be like a really fun area, the outside. We have the average Ontario angler's dunk tank, which we need to discuss. For you guys, maybe we'll put Shot.
That was a joke.
Maybe
that was a joke.
It's funny. We were talking about it last week. I'm like, we should put Shot and Mark in one. It could be hilarious.
100%. Yes. I would pay for that.
Yeah. So everyone's going to want me to go in at the end of the day, and I will do that if it's a successful show. But
I will go in if people, like I said, you pay me like one lure per ball, and I'll go in there.
Yeah. So like. That's kind of like the big things is we just opened up so much more space to make it bigger, right? And when we get it bigger, we get more vendors in, which is more products for you guys to look at, more new stuff, more giveaways. Everybody's benefiting from this, and we're really looking forward to it. So bigger all around this year. It will be the biggest CanCast we've ever produced square footage wise. So we're really looking forward to that. A lot of cool stuff. We have Bubba back as our title sponsor again. They're really stepping up. There'll be some awesome Bubba giveaways. And we also have FXR coming on board, FXR Pro Fish, which I don't know if a lot of people know. FXR is a Canadian company. It's based out of Winnipeg. They're making huge waves into the fishing industry. They're sponsoring the first 2 events of the Bassmaster Elite Series. doing all sorts of awesome stuff up here in Canada, and they're going to be there in a big way. So make sure you check out the FXR booth. It's going to be available at retailers. We got Striker coming. We got Northland Fishing Tackle coming for the first time ever. Yamamoto for the first time ever. What am I missing here? Like, there's tons of awesome brands. We got a cool guy coming, Recast Fishing, makes lures out of recycled ocean plastic. Gavin. Really cool stuff. He's going to be at the show this year. And like, there's so many guys I'm missing that are new vendors. We got Railblazer coming for kayak guys. Geiger Tech's obviously coming back. Tons of guys returning. Almost everybody's returning. And some of them are going even bigger, right? We got the main retailers. I'm going to miss some here. So like, I apologize to people in advance. Tackle Bros, Tackle Depot, JB's, BJ's, Mac Attack, Smith's, Pro J. Oh my gosh, I'm already missing somebody. I should have wrote these all down. Anyways, long story short, I'm missing retailers there. I apologize, guys, because I do appreciate all of them coming. Huck's doing their big sample clearance sale again. Huck Fishing, Under Armour is doing a huge clearance sale at CanCast as well for fishing stuff. Lots of awesome local companies too. The bait maker guys, and then you got guys like Brandon from the Perfect Jig. He's always a staple there in his corner booth. You got guys like the clothing guys like Hookers, North of 7 Outfitters, Raw Fish, just to name a few, and so much more. Pure Fishing, Shimano's, the Daiwas, all the big guys, St. Croix, Okuma, all those amazing stuff. Scotty's a new one this year. Scotty's coming, trolling stuff. Ontario Salmon Derby's coming this year. They're going to give away some tickets to the Derby and stuff like that. We got Triple Threat Lures coming, which I'm really excited about. They make some awesome trolling spoons and stuff. And like, the list just goes on and on, guys. I'm missing people, but
Drift Outfitters too.
Drift,
that's something new.
There is a good one. So Drift is coming. Yeah. Drift is an amazing fly shop downtown Toronto, and they're teaming up on a booth with NRS Fishing. So if you guys know NRS, and they also got Smooth River Guiding in there with them, who I think you guys just had on one of your episodes, right?
Yeah, last episode we talked with Matt Martin, and he went on about all the stuff that is going to be at the CanCast booth. So definitely check that episode out.
He's going to have some cool stuff.
I really want to touch on is like, somewhere along the line, someone like started spreading this rumor that CanCast is a bass only show. And I was just like blown away by that. I'm like, pardon? Like, where did this come from? And it was, as someone was talking to me in the show in Toronto this year, a gentleman, he was at the show and I was talking to him and he goes, yeah, I wanted to go, but here it's bass only. And I'm like, it is everything from muskie vendors to trolling guys to walleye stuff to perch. Like, it is a multi-species show. And I really want to make sure we can't guarantee what the vendors will bring, but we have a wide variety that we can guarantee it will be a multi-species show. Like, there's no doubt about it at all. So
100%.
Yeah.
And I got so much musky stuff last year.
Yeah.
Like, new stuff, like, and that was what I was focusing on. Like, I wasn't even looking at the bass stuff as much, but there's tons of stuff for anyone.
For sure. So we feel like we got everything covered. So it doesn't matter if it's boating stuff. The boats are going to be really cool this year because they're bringing like such a variety between all the dealers and the manufacturers. Like I said, Swap's bigger. The back building is going to be a whole different look and feel this year. The ice pad is always really cool. We'll have the Jumbotron going, all that fun stuff. We're going to have the people outside, food trucks, the whole thing. It's going to be a big festival out there. It's just going to be a lot of fun. It's not going to snow that day. I've already talked to Mother Nature. We've worked it out. We're at peace with each other, and it's going to be good. It's going to be cool. We got a lot of people coming. Limestone Lures, Jeff Jigs, Jacked Up Jigs, Choppy Water, 911 Baits. There's some guys I want to give a shout out to. Gremlins, obviously Mike at Water Wolf and Bass Magnet. Just guys that just keep supporting the show like year after year after year without hesitation. It's just like, sign me up. Boatland should be there again if the Mercury oil deal that everybody always wants. And obviously we already hit on it, but the tackle swap's going to be huge. So it will be the biggest CanCast we've ever done. It's the most organized one we've ever done. Like, we're ready. We're ready to go.
The thing that I just got from all that is anything you could possibly think about that has to do with fishing is probably going to be a CanCast.
Everything. Yeah.
It's as simple as that. You covered everything. Boats, line, reels, rods, tackle, like batteries, electronics, mounts. It doesn't matter. It's probably going to be a CanCast.
Batteries is a good one. There's, we got the guys there from Ionic batteries. And then another one that's coming on as a platinum sponsor this year is Apex Lithium. And Apex Lithium is going to have some crazy deals there with their booth in Radio World for anyone that wants lithium batteries, whether it's for small stuff, big stuff, trolling motors, you name it. They're going to have like amazing deals at the show. And line, obviously lots of line manufacturers, Power Pro and all that stuff with Shimano, Daiwa, J-Braid, name a few, but we're also going to have X-Braid. So X-Braid is a very high brand of line from Japan. They're going to have a full corporate booth there this year. If you guys haven't fished X-Braid, you are missing out. It is amazing.
Wait. Look at this.
Oh, there it is. There it is. The stuff is phenomenal.
I haven't used it yet.
Phenomenal. No, you got to use it. There's 3 different kinds. There's the sinking, the finesse, the normal. It's amazing stuff. So we're really excited to have X-Braid come in. And yeah, but The giveaways are really cool. I'll give you guys a sneak peek on a few of them. I'm sorry if I'm skipping your questions, Andrew.
No, hey,
but
go ahead.
we're going to give away some Scotty stuff. It's going to be a full downrigger as well as some other stuff for a day. I thought that would be pretty cool for a ticket holder. We obviously got FXR Day, which is going to be one of their high-end rain suits and a bunch of other stuff. Daiwa Day, we got Shimano Day, we got charters from like big-time captains this year. We got American Bait Works is going to do a full day, $1,000 in American Bait Works. We got Great Lakes Finesse, $1,000 in GLF stuff. Could you imagine? Like, you would be set for like 5 years. Smallmouth heaven, to name a few. So Dan's really stepped up there on that stuff. And that's just to name a couple. Bubba, obviously, $1,000 in Bubba. That one was a big one last year. We're going to make it so that even if you can't like pick it up at the show, we're going to get it to you. That's the one thing we want people to know. Some people weren't able to get them or something came up. We're going to make sure everybody gets their prizes, even if we got to get it to you after, before, whatever works. But I want to give people a tidbit. Even though we like announced we're going to give away all these prizes to advanced ticket holders, the odds are really, really good on day 1. 2, we sell a few more. 3, we sell a few more. But your odds, for some reason, everybody doesn't buy their tickets till like 2 days before the show. It's crazy. Like, your odds of winning something are really, really good. Like, really good.
Yeah. I know 2 people last year, like that we know from Instagram that we fished with before. And the one guy won like, I think it was like a pro tackle. It was like an $800 Megabass rod.
Yeah, he won the he won the Tackle Bros package.
Yeah. He was like, I don't know what to do with this. Should I sell it or keep it? I was like, keep it.
So like the prizes are amazing. So we have $1,000 in Yeti stuff as well. Like big cooler. Yeti stepped up this year. So like it's really cool because what's happening is we're trying to build like the CanCast community and everybody's calling us like, how can we get involved? Even if we can't have a booth, like how can we get involved? Because we fill out. The other thing too we did, I just wanted to like touch base on opening this new space. We took some of the booths and we cut them in half. So you could get, if you're like a bait maker and you know maybe you don't quite need a 10 by 10. Maybe you can't quite afford it. It's not in your budget, your startup. We're offering 5 by 10 booths now. And basically it gets the price way down, but it gets you in front of thousands of people. And that's the thing as a vendor. So if anybody wants to reach out to us, we do have a couple of those left. Get your lures out there, get your company out there. It's a great way. You can even ask a guy like Wes, what CanCast has done for his brand and all the people you meet. And to do a trade show well, not just CanCast, it's not just about like what you sell the day of. It's about who you talk to, residual business, branding yourself. There's so much more to it, as you guys know. And that's what some of these vendors sometimes forget, right? So
I just want to jump in and say, I know in the past people have heard, it sounds like a small show. Oh, it's in Peterborough. It's not in Toronto. Is it worth the drive? And I just want to, again, I figure we'll each take a point on this if you want to say something about it. But we've heard of people, like Jess and I have personally met people at the show who have come to us and said, hey, we came in from London, Ontario. Hey, we flew in from Alberta.
Ottawa.
And, we came in from Ottawa, like hours and hours away.
And they want to come back the next year.
And they were not disappointed. And I just want to say, like, CanCast is not like, it's not a small town fishing show you might hear. Oh, it's a Peterborough tackle swap. No, this is a legitimate, full-on big show. Like Kyle says, you've heard all the big names that are there, all the big vendors, along with like a tackle swap, along with some small bait manufacturers. It has everything you find at your normal, all the fishing stuff you normally find at your trade shows, and all the fishing stuff you normally find at a tackle swap, and all the stuff like everything. It's everything in one. That's why it's the best. It has everything, has something for everyone.
Yeah, it's everything there. And like we have people coming from Chicago, New York. We got West Coast Fishing Tackle coming all the way from BC to put a booth in. They make some awesome salmon trolling stuff and all that. Like, it's really becoming a Canada-wide event. And I always said, like, if we do this right, Peterborough can become the capital of fishing in Canada that weekend. And it definitely starts to feel that way. We have our CanCast social on the Saturday night, which is just an amazing time. It's open to the public at Shoeless Joe's. All weekend, Shoeless Joe's is going to be giving away stuff. If you guys, go to the show and you want to go eat lunch somewhere, hopefully you're staying later than lunch, but dinner after, please go to Shoeless Joe's in Peterborough. They really are stepping up and supporting us this year. It would mean the world to us. But we got guys coming from New Brunswick, a whole like van load this year. We got some brands coming from New Brunswick. So lots of really cool stuff. And it's really turned into something special. And I think it's just kind of like, hey, this is going to be our Super Bowl of fishing, and let's all go partake and let's have a good time. And, we really, really can't thank our vendors enough. Like, we really look at it as a partnership, and I always say to them, hey, if you guys bring the good stuff, I'll hold my end of the deal as a promoter and I'll pack that building. And one thing we do is, and we market this event. I think that's a fair statement. We do crazy amount of social media campaigns, radio ads, a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm not going to give away all my secrets that we do, but we do a lot of podcasts. We do a lot of marketing. That's just our commitment we make to our vendors. We understand it costs them money to be there. We understand that, it takes time out of their lives to be there, and we couldn't do it without them. The vendors are the show. I have no doubt in my mind that if you came, you could outfit yourself for the season at CanCast for everything you need.
That's awesome. And one last question then. Let's say, I'm married, I have kids. What should I do? Is this just pro fishermen all milling about, and am I going to feel out of place?
Kids are free under 12 for one. And kids absolutely clean up at this show.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
I always ask to see what's in their bag, and then I take one or two things,
I get parents
don't do that.
messaging us after the show and thanking me. We give away so much stuff, but it's not just us, but the vendors. They walk by their booths and they're like, "Oh, you're a kid. Here you go. They clean up, and it is so awesome. And I had parents thanking us. And last year we had a gentleman, and I'm so sorry I can't remember his name. He donated us a bunch of tackle boxes that his dad had, who had passed away, and he probably gave us 10 or 12 of these things. And they were full of really good stuff. So we were giving them to kids, and kids were just losing their minds. Parents were losing their minds. One dad's I spent $15 to get in here, and my kid's walking out with $200 and stuff like this. It's unreal. And they just clean up, right? And it is a family event. There's Fishing Frenzy there doing stuff for kids. You can sign up for the OFA Under the Lock Fishing Derby while you're there if you're kids. Everybody is entertaining the kids there.
There are definitely, like you said, there are some vendors and they themselves are personally giving away to the kids as well.
Yeah. And they all really are. I consider all these vendors my friends. I really do. And, like I said, some of them aren't returning this year, whether it's personal reasons or conflict, or some of them are getting out of business. But we have so many new guys too, which is really cool. And that's just normal in the trade show world. Guys are going to come in and come out and come in and come out. And it's nothing negative. It's just some guys didn't have any time to make lures this year or whatever, right? It's just how it goes. But we got our staples as always, and they seem to keep coming back, and I'm excited because we're ready to rock. We got a few housekeeping things we got to do the next month, but I can confidently say this is going to be the best CanCast we've ever done, and I don't want people oh, there's Kyle talking on Instagram again, blah blah blah. I am, everything I say, I back it up. I really feel like I do. I really feel like everything we say we're going to do, we do. We're going to give away, we give away. And I had one negative comment last year. That was it. Everything was super positive.
Sorry about that, by the way,
Andrew.
Yeah.
So we'll take that as a win.
My last advice to end up this podcast would be bring money. And the amount you think you need, bring a little bit more, because you'll regret it if you don't have it.
Double it.
Because like Kyle said, it's a buying show. So we go to all the fishing shows, and some of the shows we go to, it's just companies showing off product. And me and Andrew always get frustrated. Remember, we were at a show and Andrew's like, "Why can't I buy this?" It's oh, we're just showing it off. It's that's cool, but I want to buy this thing. It's so cool. No, you can't.
You've got 3 behind glass of the same color. Give me one.
Yeah. You can buy all this stuff at CanCast.
Yeah,
you can't buy Kyle, but everything else you can buy.
No, you can't buy me. But we're excited, guys. It's going to be fun. Honestly, guys, if you're listening, get your tickets early. The link's on our Instagram bio. It's on our Facebook. It's on our website. Just get your tickets, guys. Get in. It said it's $15 plus taxes. You're $19 box office fees. You're out the door. You're there. It gets you all the prizes. It's like a cheap raffle ticket. You get entry to the show for the day. You get the seminars for free with that. I guarantee you're going to walk out with more than $19 in free stuff or savings or however way you want to look at it. But please get your tickets, guys. It means the world to us. It makes our life so much easier, and yours, when you buy them ahead of time. You do not want to have to go fight to the box office. Buy them ahead of time. Bring your family, bring your wife, get her into fishing. If she's giving you a hard time about fishing, get a new wife, bring her. But no, I'm just kidding. But bring your whole family, bring your kids, and bring your dad, bring your mom, bring your grandma. I don't care. Have a good time, and just come out and let me know how you can cast. It'd be wicked.
Again, AOA does not, the disclaimers, we don't say that Kyle should give you marriage advice.
Yeah, don't. My wife's shaking her head behind me, by the way. So.
Kyle's in trouble.
Yeah.
We're actually giving away 2 CanCast tickets this week. And by we, I mean Kyle. Kyle is giving away 2 CanCast tickets as we have the last 2 episodes. And as a little teaser, next week, we have an amazing guest that we somehow wrangled. No idea how we did it, but we got an amazing guest. We're not going to tell you who it is.
Oh,
But
come
we're
on.
also giving away CanCast tickets. No, I can't tell. Even Kyle. I'll tell you after we push stop. Okay. But we're giving away CanCast tickets next podcast episode as well. So how do you enter, Andrew?
You enter by signing up on Patreon for Average Ontario Anglers. And there's a form to fill out if you join as a free member. But if you subscribe and you have donating up to $2 a month, just like buying us a cup of coffee, you are automatically entered at that point. So it's super easy if you want to do it that way. But like I said, it is open to everyone. If they want to hop on Patreon and sign up for click on the link, Average Ontario Anglers, and you can sign up just as a free member.
Yeah. And just as a heads up, everything that we've talked about today is going to be in the show notes below. How to get CanCast tickets. It'll take you right to the website. You don't have to type anything in. Just go below in the links. We're going to have links to CanCast where you get tickets, our Patreon, all that stuff. We'll make it easy for you guys. How do we end this, Andrew?
Well, we end it by saying, if we have one cool thing to say about CanCast, it's that you're going to meet some awesome people there, because Jesse and me are going to be walking around all day long. You get to find us. So
There you go.
we're going to have, I'm just kidding. That was a terrible fact. We're going to have the quote of the week handled by Kyle.
Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Remember that when you're on the water.